Welcome to Ripstop on the Record, the podcast for makers, by makers, where we talk about all things MYOG. Brought to you by Ripstop by the Roll. I think it's good, right?
Yeah, I think that was a good take.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Ripstop on the Record. I'm Jameson.
And I'm Avery.
This podcast is often a place for MYOGers, where we talk a lot about sewing and making gear. But we also like to provide resources for the small companies, the one-person shows that are looking to scale or grow from their living room to maybe a studio. And that's where today's guest comes in. Today, we're talking with good friend of the company and of the podcast, Liv from allmansright. If you aren't aware of who allmansright is and what they are a cottage company based out of the Bronx, New York. They have seen some serious attention over the last few years. They have a really cool design aesthetic with simplicity, but also highly functional gear that can translate really well from trail to street side. We talk about how they've been featured in some really cool places in big magazines. We talk about how their products have seen a lot of development over the years. Talked a little bit about fabric, and then we also play a cool memory lane game where Avery's dug up some photos from the archives on Liv's Instagram, and we have some fun there. We have a kind of the mindset that a rising tide raises all ships type of mentality. And we feel like that allmansright had a lot to share with the MYOGers, but also the one-person company alike. So if you need a little bit of inspiration, if you want a feel-good episode, but also want some good tips on sewing and growing your small business, then this is a good episode.
But before all that, we have some exciting news, some new products that are coming out. My personal favorite are the new colored components we'll have coming out on December 5th. So we've taken your favorite black components and just given you your favorite colors. So now you have more design, creativity, and control to make your gear look from basic to extra custom with the colored components.
Yeah, that stuff includes the ultralight side release buckle, anchorable cord locks, micro cord locks, I think there's a ladder lock in there, slip lock, tri-glide. Yeah, there's stuff like that. So check it out. They'll be in the description below. So about a week after we release colored components, we're releasing brand new kits, and we're going to tease them here for the first time if you haven't already seen a picture of them online. We're releasing two new kits that will be coming out on the 11th. We are releasing a packable poncho kit that will double as a tarp, and we're also releasing the lay flat travel bag kit, which is a pleated center zip with a handle kind of bag, so you can put shoes, dirty clothes, clean clothes, whatever. They're both awesome. I got to say, the packable poncho kit is pretty cool. Isaac's done extensive patterning to figure this one out and make it an approachable kit for people, but also a highly functional one. He made this because this is one of his staple items in his kit. I won't give away too much because maybe we'll talk about it more on a future episode. But think about something that you can pack up to be the size of a baseball that you can throw in your backpack and have as rain gear walking around town, or you can set up as a tarp, like a simple A-frame tarp setup if you're in the backcountry and need some emergency shelter. It's cool. It's coming in great colors. It's a great kit. The lay flat travel bag kit is going to be awesome. It's building out our travel system. So we released packing cubes last year. We have some ZPP kits, things like that. The lay flat kit is a really portable, but also functional item. I mean, it can pack up to be the size like you're smaller than your fist, but also fit like 2 full-size shoes if you need. I guess full-size shoes being, if you have a huge foot or something. But these kits are going to be awesome. They're coming out the 11th. They'll be 15% off from the 11th to the 18th. So check out that sale.
And lastly, don't forget to like our podcast, comment, rate, review, subscribe. And you can also watch this episode on YouTube. So head over there if you really want to get involved. But more than anything, just thank you for listening.
Totally. On to the episode. Hey, Liv, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, man.
Of course. So last time we had you on, it was over 1,000 days ago now. It was December 18th, 2020, which would have been episode 6 for us. It was our very first company spotlight, which now is kind of turned into one of our like a flagship type episode, I guess. I don't know. We've done tons of them now, and it's like something kind of our bread and butter, if you will. Since we last talked, you've launched new products, you've moved studios, created new partnerships, been recognized nationally by some big companies that we'll talk about later. You've had a child, and probably a lot of other things that I'm not adding into this monologue, which is why we're chatting, because so much has changed. How does it feel thinking back to the last time we talked? That it's already been 3 years now.
Up until you started sort of like running down that list, it felt like yesterday, honestly. Um, yeah, shit. We've done a lot.
Yeah, yeah, you've been a little bit
Mm,
busy.
mm. It's felt that way. Yeah, that's, well, time's flying.
So it looks like you have a new background today. Where are you at? Tell us a little bit about where you are.
Yeah, I'm in the new stew.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's very far departure from a section of our living room. Um, it's space to move around. And now that I think about it, I just can't I can't wrap my head around doing what we did, out of our apartment. Um, it's pretty ridiculous.
For the people that are listening that might not be familiar with you and the brand that you started or haven't been following you for the entire 3 years, give us, I'm just curious for myself to kind of paint us a picture of what that looked like of you running a business inside of your apartment and how big that was, but also where you're living. Because I think that'll give people an idea too that there just wasn't a lot of space, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I live in a 6-story walk up. You know, I live on the 5th floor though. Um, so there's always somebody having it worse than you are. Can't complain. No, every time I see my neighbors going out to their apartment, I'm like, you unlucky bastard, but I'm literally right under them. Yeah, so, and I only say that because, if you've ever tried moving around an industrial sewing machine, you know that it's like back-breaking stuff. But, we hauled it up to, our tiny apartment, several of them, and started, building out, functioning like semi-functioning, like manufacturing facility. um, when you open our front door, if there was somebody sewing, you just couldn't open our front door. Kind of situation, yeah. Um, I would receive mail from the sewing machine when the mailman came through. Literally, what would happen is you see them peeking around like the crack and trying to see what operation we got going on. Yeah, that was something we got creative a couple of times in organizing the space. Um, you know, but then aside from that, I think the hardest part was figuring out sort of like the business aspect of it. Of being able to make gear and have that be how you sustain yourself and you know and what you're trying to create. Yeah, so navigating how to run a business for the first time in both mine and Jen's life, and everything it took, and um, yeah, how that's affected by where we're at. Well, it just makes everything just a little harder, right? Like you have to get creative about sort of your process. You have to get creative about sort of like your products and in terms of what you can create. Yeah, it was just the space sort of defined the business till we had to sort of like break out of it. I hear stuff like people growing businesses out of their garages. And I'm like, you're so lucky.
At least you have a garage.
Yeah, no, but you know what though? I at least I have which I'm finding out that a lot of I've never had a garage in my life. So I'm finding out that a lot of them don't have heating. so so I guess I had that on garages.
I think that's a really great story and picture for people to know kind of where you started. And if you haven't followed them or know kind of what Liv is talking about, I know that you guys have some older pictures on your Instagram of your sewing setup. And I'm always just like, man, I feel like you just like probably could have rolled over from your bed and just like started sewing there. But I know that as a new business, it's hard to kind of separate this work life balance, especially when people are sewing right in their studio apartment or maybe even sewing in their garage. So what would a piece of advice be to maybe yourself a year ago or 2 years ago of uh, a tip to kind of have that good life work separation balance?
Put on pants. Yeah, that was a big one. Just get dressed as if other people were gonna be seeing you. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, well, that's a big one. Another one is, oh man, I don't even have another one to be honest with you. It's just like it all just gets so blended, in together, and it's like I'm constantly thinking about what I'm doing here. And while I'm here, I'm constantly thinking about what I'm doing at home. Um, sorry, I guess we're talking about when the business was like in the house, right? More so. In the
Yeah,
apartment.
definitely.
Yeah, okay. So yes, pants. And then two, uh try to try to stick to a schedule. Tell yourself like this is the time you're doing this and do this only and like and show sort of like, yeah, pretend like you're not even in the house or in your home, like, and be serious about it. So like if somebody's calling you, be like, yo, I'm at work, hang up. If you wouldn't be using your phone at work, don't use it there, kind of thing, because it's very easy. It's so easy to just like, decide, oh, let me take a quick break, and then, you're finishing I don't know, an episode of like, I don't know, what do the kids watch these days? One Piece or something like that. I don't know. Or two or three, Yeah, just, treat it like work. It's
I love
work.
that. I think that's those are great pieces of advice, especially for the people who might be sewing in their bedroom or their garage or somewhere in their house, maybe in their living room, because it's so hard to have that fire after work. You're going to work for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And then you're coming home, and we all know the routine, right? Now daylight savings, it hits like 6 o'clock and we're like, oh, bedtime. So I know how hard it is to have that drive. I mean, me and Jameson also feel it, like we work with looking in fabric and people's gear all day, that sometimes the last thing we want to do when we get home is like make our
Mhm.
own backpack or whatever. But I think those are really good pieces of advice to have someone stay focused and have that like healthy work life balance where you can just kind of separate the two and both be productive in each space. So I think that's really special, and obviously you've done a
Yeah,
great
I
job
mean,
at it.
no, no, no. I literally, I mean, I interrupted you, and and I almost succeeded. But what I was gonna say is that by no means think that like I achieved a good life work balance. That didn't happen. I would no. While we were at while the shop was in the crib, like, just never happened. It was, you want to achieve a good life work balance. I don't know. Go to your garage. La-
Well, I mean, it definitely
Deadbolt,
paid off.
deadbolt the door. Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Yeah,
And now
but
you can
but
appreciate your new studio even more,
yeah,
that you have
but
a
I can tell
whole
you,
dedicated place.
yeah. But I can tell you that if I was a different person with, like, more presence of mind, I definitely would have applied the advice I gave, because that's some sound stuff right there.
It's the stuff that you say because you know you should believe it, and you're like, I'm saying this because
Exactly.
I think I should like take this on more.
Yeah, I should print
I,
that out, put it somewhere up there.
I like this topic that we're down though. Kind of
Mm.
like you're a cottage company, but you're further down the line than a lot of people. And I
Mm.
think a lot of people that listen to this podcast are maybe in like the one man to two or one person to two person business right now. So I want to follow this train a little bit of like how you've gone from living room to like being nationally recognized and having your own studio and stuff like this. One of the areas that everyone struggles with, I think, and that you've at least had experience with, and I don't know how you would distill this experience, is hiring and teaching people to make your own gear or to make the stuff that you guys produce now. What would you say to like how do you hire good people? How do you teach them to make stuff that you're proud of? How do you start to multiply your output?
Your best scenario, you get somebody that you find somebody equally passionate about what you're doing, and and they dive in there, and they're ready to do the extra hours with you, and they're ready to, like, develop bags under their eyes with you. You know what I mean? Just like they're there, and then you find that person, you hold on to that. That's precious. Somebody who comes with you to you with ideas, and rather than just like questions, uh you know just solutions kind of thing. And then you have, folks, come around, and gigging, and I would say try to sort of like, find you a good first person to work with, like, just somebody who's like really in it with you. I got lucky, I was married to that person. But then when you hire your first employee, just get somebody dedicated with you, that believes in what you're doing, and that is able to, like, sort of, you know um see the vision. And a lot of that falls on you. You have to inspire them to do that, to sort of see it. You're just not gonna find like that, perfect employee. You have to put in the work and figure out how to do that too, like, how to build a culture, um how to inspire the people to, follow that culture.
If you
Yeah.
don't mind me like digging in more, what's a way that you do help inspire? Because I think about that a lot around here even. And I think it's kind of cool what you said because I think it's true. Or like one of the first couple employees that ever worked here, the first one was Justin, who definitely shares like the passion of Ripstop by the Roll. I mean, he's been printing on textiles since before like that was really like a widely popular thing even on the internet and stuff. And he was an early person on hammock forums, and like he massively shared the passion. There were a lot of other employees that were here doing other stuff, and eventually Carter came along, who's you know one of the only people in the world that knows exactly what he does, as cute as it is. So like that's a great point. Like having like your early employees being really passionate about what you do is important. But then the other piece that you mentioned there is like inspiring them and kind of maybe turning like giving them that passion after the fact. What's a way that you do that at Almonds Right, at least like giving that to people that you hire?
um uh you have to sort of, you have to, ask yourself sort of like, what's in it for them,
Hmm.
for your employee. So, like, what are they gonna get out of it, um out of doing the job. So, like, you have to connect with folks, like, um understand, like, what about what they're doing, is interesting, and wants them, to, at the very least, like, not hate themselves in the morning to get up and go to work. I've been there. But now I jump out of bed. You know what I mean? And you would, you just have to give room for that, within whatever you're doing. Let people sort of, feel like they're, um, or rather, let them be part of what you're doing. Their input is important. You always ask it. Um, you find out what they're interested in, and you allow them to take part in that, aspect of, your organization. Um, and that comes with, like, actual, like, monetary investment, right? Because, like, you have to take them from what they're doing and are most efficient at, and have them try something new. But it's, you invest a little bit in that, and in them, and I think it pays back, both,
Yeah.
both ways. You know a job needs to be, like, like, rewarding, and when it is, and when people find what they're doing rewarding in some way, they buy into what they're doing. That's it. It's really that simple.
I'm gonna step on my soapbox here quick. So if you're listening and you don't feel like hearing what I have to say, then like just click that plus 15-second button or whatever. But I do, I think that's something that a lot of companies don't think about and don't want to. That like compensation for a job isn't enough to make someone feel happy at the end of the day. Like
No.
even if you get paid a lot of money, I know people that get paid like well over six figures that aren't happy still, right? Like it has to be a job
Mm.
that they want to like like I like what you said, where like you want to feel excited when you get out of bed. You want to like feel happy when you're doing the work and safe at work. And then when you lay your head down at night, you're like, I feel fulfilled that I'm like moving the world in a better place than it was this morning. And that doesn't come from like compensation at all. And I think too many people, like employers specifically, are like, well, I pay you this much money, like you do the rest to be happy. It's like we spend a third of our life at work. You can't do that just by like a paycheck.
No, that's awful. Like, what is it? A third? What is it? A third sleeping?
Yeah,
A third working, and, like, what's
yeah,
the other third?
and the
Fucking chores.
eating, using the facilities, and
Keeping
trying to
other humans
socialize, I guess.
alive, probably.
Yeah, yeah,
Scrolling. Honestly, I don't. That math does not add up, because I just, no, between sleep and work, like, where's that other third?
yeah,
It's not it's not mathing.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
um, all right, so there's my soapbox, but I really like what you had to say. I want to talk about like more business stuff here, um, which your products. I mean, the things that have brought you where you are. Partially, your passion, I think, is probably where it has gotten almonds right here. But so kind of again reflecting over the last couple of years, or at least almonds right a couple of years ago to now. What ways have your products evolved over this time as well?
There's a different, answer for this question depending on my mood, or, like, my mental health that day. Um, there's been evolution, in introduction. And I think, products like our packs have been, I think, the best. I'm the happiest I've ever been with them.
Mm,
But however, you get, being small, and having, like, even just, I feel like we have an extensive lineup for the size that we are, of, like, products. And, just and just between just making that whole bulk, um I just feel like we haven't really introduced much new, other than, like, working with other brands, but our core product has sort of, like, has, been the same, with, updates. I would say that our pack is a much better pack than it was when we first started making them, and just construction wise, even design and feature wise. Um, but it's had like the same name and leaders for like, I'll put this into perspective, and this is one thing that like, and this is just this is, I don't know, this shit might hurt the business, but whatever. Like, here it goes. We've had the same stickers from about day one. You know, that's a kind of sort of like gridlock that like having to to grind and make product to like stay alive as a business, sort of like that's what it puts you on. That's how like how it hampers you, I guess. Let's go with this lighting here. I'm like, I've been like fighting it the whole time. Don't you worry. In a couple of minutes, this sun is gonna like swing around, and it's gonna look like a whole Snapchat filter. I mean,
I like that
I'm
we're
gonna be,
getting like a kind of a tour of your studio as you scoot over with the
yeah,
light.
yeah. No, don't worry. I'm gonna swing this way soon. I'm gonna be giga chatting really soon.
Oh, that's really funny. You mentioned one of your items, your pack that you've had the same name for, and I know that you're not gonna gas yourself up, so I'm gonna plug you here. But I know that pack was featured in Travel and Leisure, which I'm sure you probably never thought 3 years ago that your work would be
But yeah,
featured in a magazine publication that is not even 100% outdoor related, which is freaking cool. But how do you, since you have such a solid lineup of products, how do you decide that a prototype or something you want to add is good enough to add to your collection? How do you go through like your prototype testing? Yeah, just give us
yeah.
some details and some background on how you add your next product to your collection that you've so creatively refined.
I mean, like, you sort of answered that, like when you said that. Well, you sort of answered for me when you said that, like, you know, I downplayed the pack, but it's been, and like featured here and there, and the answer is that I don't, the it's never good enough. It's no, I think I'm joking. Um, there's a point where you decide where like as it's not gonna fail, um, or you hope so. When you feel like it's not gonna fail the customer, and then where you feel decent with where you would feel pretty good about the design. I think number one criteria being that it's not gonna fail anyone. Um, you know, um, and and obviously let me think about this. Um, yeah, a product could always get better. There's new technology, there's new material. I think that like there's gonna be before this call, I was actually thinking about adding a page to like on our website, sort of with a chronology of like updates that we've made to our products. So like, you know, um, kind of like putting like footnotes, like when and where changes were made. Maybe an illustration or just like just showing people that like um, the product is always evolving. There's um, it's always getting hopefully better.
That's a hard thing to share too, I feel like. That's a good idea because when you keep the product the same with the same name and liter capacity and generally looking the same, people don't really imagine that there's a lot of evolution there. So
Mm.
like it kind of appears like it's the same thing, even though you like it's far from it. Like it's it.
No,
Can you
absolutely.
go
Sorry,
ahead?
and we don't do things like seasons. We don't have seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I came into this like um I came into creating these products wanting to create something sort of like timeless and for everyone. So that's why the design is pretty neutral and relatable. it's I designed it to like, you know, if you take great care of it, you could repair it easily and or and it'll last you forever kind of thing, you know. Like my intent was to, build, something, kind of like timeless. You know?
What are some examples of the things that you wanted to update on the packs? Were they like failure points that you'd gotten customer complaints about, or were they just like annoyances for you, where you're like, I hate sewing this part, so I want to change it?
Oh, it's several things. Sometimes I feel like, like sometimes I'm like, I feel like my patterns and design are too like, um, uh, like are too guided by like what I was able to sew at the time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, I've gotten so much better at sewing and learned new techniques that like I feel like the design could benefit from, and things like that. Yo, no complaints till now.
That's awesome.
And I've done some repairs to packs, but like one of them was recent for like a pack that made it 3,000 miles, and it
Jeez.
was just like, yeah, like they used it so much that like the texture on the webbing sort of like cut a groove into the ladder locks, like kind of situation. It was well beat. And then another one was like, they hiked it thousands of miles, like across the north, whatever that trail is that ends up in like Oregon, starts in like the mid Dakota or something. I don't know
Yeah.
that guy. So I've only gotten good reviews on the pack with like minor things like. They some of them wish it was narrower. Some people wish it was wider. The pockets were this or that. All
Yeah.
things that we've considered, but had to make like choices against.
Yeah.
Yeah, yo, I'm hoping that there isn't somebody in the world. Oh, I'm sure there's a. We've gotten a couple more, maybe one or two more of like some repairs that might be done, but everybody's doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I think the only point I'm trying to get at also that like, I hope there isn't somebody out there somewhere that has like a pack that's like repairable, a pack from us that's like repairable, and like decided to scrap it. Um, you know, there's either that person out there or the few that have reached out and we've helped out repair their gear.
Yeah.
That's where we stand on that.
So, despite your growth, you still wear a lot of hats at Almonds Right, from CEO. I don't know what you call yourself, but like, you're the primary vision creator for the company. You design products, you test products, you find yourself at the sewing machine, you do marketing. Like, you're still wearing all those hats. Um,
Yeah.
what does your time management look like? And I don't even mean like work life time management, but I mean like, how do you split your time from product testing to development to sewing to marketing to vision creating, hiring? Like, how do you split that, or how do you like choose each day, like, this is the thing I got to do?
Yeah, just typical organization, like goal setting and stuff. You set your goal, split it up, um and then just go down the sort of the hierarchy for that. Uh Sometimes it feels like we're always behind on our on even the times that we set a calendar,
Hmm.
that we lock down calendar for a period of time, where it always feels like we're running behind on that. So like we're still learning on that on that end, but man, you just work all the time. that's like that's how you get all of that done. You try to set time in the mornings for emails. You could. I try to limit the time that I'm on a sewing machine as well, just so I'm not like, you know, like hunched over and like, I don't want to have a back like a programmer. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Just like you know, just T-Rexing around the house kind of thing. So I try to limit that for myself as well. Um, yeah, just there's a lot to do. You just got to break it up in whatever little time you have. Like, um, you know, the time I have the least for nowadays is getting on, sitting down and drawing like on a sketchbook. But I'm doing that on the bus. You know, just have to whatever's urgent, jump on it. Whatever can wait has to wait. It's just, this is what it is.
You've mentioned that you've done some collaborations in the past with other brands. I know that you've worked with Outlandish, William Ellery, to Hiker Kind, and even Dangle Supply Company. Can you tell us more about what it's like to work with other people and other designers? Like who comes to who? How does that process start? And maybe how that makes you a better individual designer when you work with others?
Yeah, for sure. Um, I guess let's address who goes to who. It's both ways, right? Like you could either reach out to somebody, you're like, hey, I like what you're doing. This is what this is what I could contribute to what you're doing, what you contribute to what I'm doing. Let's meet in the middle, and literally the vice versa. Somebody comes to you and offers you the same things. You find common ground in the things that inspire you and the things that you want to create, and and you do it. Sometimes it just doesn't align. Sometimes it's just time doesn't allow for it, and you know all of that is okay too. um, and then I like doing it because it just gives me an opportunity to design something new, and learn something new, learn from somebody who's doing something differently than I am. Um, and like I said, just find out what you guys could both contribute to sort of like the product you want to see realized, and do it.
I can imagine that when you work in collaboration with another company or another designer, that maybe they're coming to you with a product you probably would have never saw yourself making or designing. I'm sure you get your inspiration from a lot of different places, but if you could come up with a collab, Almonds Right and someone else, who would your dream collaboration be with? Let's just put this out into the ethers. It's going to happen for you.
Man, uh, that's a tough one, right? Well, I'm hoping that, like, man, I don't know so much these days. Um, dream, right? Like
Yeah,
tippity top top.
top, top.
Mm, well, I'm hoping somebody at Nike watches this. That'd be great. That'd be cool. I mean, to get like like to have the sort of possibilities that those guys have in sort of like creating a product, and like anything's possible. Like what? Well, let me stop. Not everything's possible because you know things cost money, I think, and then you have to like weigh out, like. But after all that, I think, uh, you know, net possibilities. Nike's up there for sure. It'd be cool. Um,
Would you go the shoe route or would you go like the accessory route or clothing? I'm just curious where your brain takes you when I think of Almonds Right and Nike. Like,
yikes. Um,
not to make it even harder, but
no, no. I'll backtrack on Nike actually. Um, I don't think I would. I don't think it would be Nike. I don't know. Like I said, where I am right now, I'm sort of like uh, I'm trying to figure out something
mm,
new, and I'm sort of dabbling. I'm sort of like thinking about where the inspiration is coming from the most right now. Yo, it would definitely be a major like equipment brand, you know. Um who specifically, like I said, I just don't know right now. Like right now I just want to like right now I just want to work with like small folks who's like who are doing something very different, you know. Um but let's just say, I don't know, big brand X, who would like, you know, give me the possibility to just do some like really cool like ultralight insulated gear, you know, like maybe a sleeping bag. Um yeah, I've always wanted to work with Nanga, the Japanese insulated uh equipment brand. They make just the things I'm describing. um yeah, one day I'm gonna be cool enough to, you know, we'll make it happen. um Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I don't think I have like you know, like that, the one top one brand. I don't know. Right now I'm a little, what I say, I'm like stirred up like, um you know, I just feel like a change in direction happening, you know, within myself. Like I'm in a different stage in my life than, you know, than I was 4 months ago. Nah, I'm sorry. I don't have a tip top one for that. I want to work with small to medium like size brands that like, you know, that want to do something cool, who connect with my community, you know, people who've grown up like I have. Um yeah, I don't know. Hopefully by the end of this interview, maybe, who knows? Maybe I'll have one.
No, I think that's totally fair. It's always just fun seeing your collaborations and thinking like, oh man, if you did get that Nike collab, like you do something so cool. You never know who's listening.
Something
So,
for running
let's
probably.
So you mentioned that you have inspiration coming from a lot of different places. So just quick spitfire, where do you get your inspiration from right now? And maybe who is on your radar? You don't have to answer both, but just give me a
um
quick rundown.
Who's on my radar? There's a brand called Rayon Vert, out of Milano, Italy. Always love them. Always love what they do. They're in their contemporary same in the same scape. Um, I like what Palante is doing with the branding and just like overall like, uh just aesthetic. You know. Who else? Um, uh, you know. I don't know. I'm finding myself just more like inspired by the brands lately that have, or like who, you know, that have sort of like gnarly imagery, you know. Just like, you know, the gnarly imagery of you know, of the outdoor is just, you know, the I'm not gonna say like the darker side of it because it just makes it seem malicious. It's just like that, you know, that are embracing, that aren't like, you know, that are embracing like the weird and just, you know, the gnarly side of the escape as well. um uh
Liv, there's like I'm noticing a similarity between all the brands that you're inspired by, but also kind of like your brand image that you've created at Almonds Right, which is like this, um, like Swedish Japanese inspired simplicity, but also uh like heavy functionality that starts to lend itself towards like a fashion, uh what is, I don't know if I know the words for this. Um like if everyone knows the companies that you're talking about, like they know exactly like the idea that like Palante has always been like they want the best pack possible, but they've always done it in a very sort of like their website's been all over the place in years past, from like really like, you know, more e-commerce optimized to then being like aggressively like retro in a way that was like very like aesthetic and very like stylistic. um would how do you see the and but I guess the point I'm trying to get at is like function and beauty. That like for all of these like all these companies, they have like a heavy like it must be functional. There's nothing dysfunctional about what you or they produce. It's all with like strictly to serve a purpose, but they do it in such a way that presents itself as like very stylistic, very aesthetic, very like form forward type. How do you like do you do that cognizantly for your stuff, or does that is that just kind of like is that a byproduct of just by designing for purpose first?
I think that when function sort of just starts defining form, things, there's certain, you know that was a hard one because so many different forms could perform a function, and then I think that that's where the brands that I'm describing are, understand. um there's um there's there's definitely a million ways to do something like this one thing successfully. You just always be cognizant of like how you're doing that aesthetically, right? Like you can choose, like you could make a roll top a million different ways. you know you could literally make a roll top. I don't know, just taking a whole bunch of strips of fabric and sewing that together and then making a roll top, and just there's definitely a million ways of doing something, and I think that that's where like that's the differentiating factor between like some brands, is that like some some consider how to do those functions and do it in a way that like their aesthetic matches their brand and message. I myself, I'm a mixture of both. I think that like um I think a lot of function has always sort of guided what I do. Like for example, I will add a curve. I added a curve to my backpack just because the way the top strap pulled on it sort of gave it that curve naturally, but it would like it, you know, the fabric would just bunch, and it would just
Mhm.
look off. So I gave it that curve to just, you know, um, to get rid of that, and that's and then I thought, this curve is cool. Let's give it balance within the design and add it in other places. How else can this curve sort of serve do what we're doing with the current design, and and from there I think I have two examples. Could I be able to bring a pack on here?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do it.
One second. So like this is a prime example of what I'm talking about. You see how this is flat here? It's just a
Yep.
flat part, and then this is curved, right? When
I
this
see that.
thing
Yeah.
got tugged on, it wanted to make that shape anyway, so we just did it, right? So then this curve,
Yep.
we translated it to here to the bottom, and as you can see, this is where the trekking pole loop comes out of, but it was made
Hmm.
possible by the curve that was translated down here. You see it?
Yep.
Right.
So for people listening, what we're talking about is on the
Oh yeah,
front of
I
the
forgot no one's
backpack
watching
for
this.
the panel. I know, right? Some people are,
I got
hopefully.
you.
For the panel, that's it's like the front of the pack has like a big mesh pocket. The panel of Ultra Grid that Liv's using that's behind that front pocket, where the strap that goes over the top to the kind of like cinch it all closed, that one's curved instead of flat. So like where that buckle's pulling, it's kind of like pulling across like the whole line of the pack instead of just like bunching up there.
Yeah. And then and then that little translating that curve to another part of the design, you know, we just figure out a way to we work the features and implement it in there, so it gives it like a more cohesive sort of aesthetic. We then move that curve to the back panel to create sort of like the hump of the back where the straps come out of, and that sort of tightened up everything together. So it's both for us is function driving form, and then using a form and working and using that form to work for whatever function you need to. There's always there's like almost like a feedback loop between those two
Hmm.
things, between your aesthetic sensibility and the function that you need to achieve. If
Yeah,
you have that, then I think you're working on something good.
yeah, yeah. Um, we've talked a lot about what you guys have done over the last couple of years, and your history has been awesome. But I do want to like just direct a little bit towards Almond's Right's future a bit as well. What sort of new products, new collabs, what sort of new stuff do you all have in the works that you'd be willing to tell us about?
There's a like I mentioned earlier, our packages are always evolving, and I think we're sort of uh, we're trying to figure out sort of how to we're trying to work with modularity for one. Um, uh, how do how to give a customer sort of like a chance to make a product exactly what they wanted it to be without having to like have features set in place, just like how do you build upon something to make it yours, or take off, or is it multi situational, um we are city folk who get out, so like we always love gear that are useful to us in both scenarios, and we sort of always naturally end up doing that, but I think we're moving forward, we're going to be leaning a lot more into that. um uh as I figure out this whole business situation, and how to like find more pockets for where I can do um sort of design, sort of more experimental stuff that isn't necessarily going to go into like, you know, being into production just to experiment. We're gonna be doing that. You know, I keep gear all around the studio, sort of just because I think it's like beautiful gear, and I'm not even talking about my own. But I have like a little gear museum, a little gear display as soon as you come in, with like where I highlight just gear that I think is super cool from around the world. We have stuff from Sweden, the US, of course, from Japan, and like I was gonna say in Jersey. But yeah, in Jersey, yeah, it's cool. So we're thinking about sourcing sort of like just more cool objects. We definitely want the US folks to like just to be able to use just cool stuff from around the world. We're trying to bring that in. Um, uh, we want to do sort of like just more custom, like all man's right stuff, like maybe someday a bottle, whenever we decide that like that we've made something significant, or at least like that deserves to exist. We're gonna start releasing those things. I don't know, maybe new logo in the way, who knows. We would love to sort of like start maybe making some wearable stuff. I've been like playing around with like my own clothes, and that's been so much fun that like, but that stuff is costly, my gosh. Uh just sizing, right? Like there's three different sizes, and then
Yeah.
there's minimums and all that. Like I'm like, people are just gonna have to start wearing really baggy clothes. Like they're just gonna make one 2XL, and then everybody else fits in it, and they'll figure it out. Yeah, but yeah, something wearable would be cool, just as my
Yeah.
interests within like the outdoor gearscape evolves, so will we.
I'm going to take you on a 180 here and ask you one of our staple questions. And it's about fabric, by the way. Just
Mm-hmm.
giving you a heads up here.
Easy one.
There's there's a lot of fabrics
Yeah.
out there, and a lot of good
Yeah.
ones out there. But I think everyone that works with fabrics a lot
Mm-hmm.
always has an idea of one that's missing. So if you were to answer the question, what fabric is currently missing in the market, what would that fabric be?
Yo, whoever is responsible for this at Ripstop by the Roll, I need a 50D grid stop.
A 50D grid stop. So you want a lighter grid
Yeah,
stop.
that stuff is amazing. And you know, I'm all for pushing the boundaries of how low, like how light a fabric should be for a backpack. My very first personal backpack was a 40 denier uh thing, and it's still kicking. I mean, I don't get out much these days,
Wow.
but it's still kicking. And then most recently, I made myself an upgrade to that, and I think it's like a 50D that like triple ripstop stuff from Challenge.
Mhm.
I mean, I sound like a potato chip bag down the trail, but it looks sick. It looks so sick, and it's just super light. It's super strong. But if I had grid stop, I feel like I could convince more people that, like, that you don't need, like, you
Yeah.
don't you don't need bomb proof fabric for like most of your ultralight pack.
Oh, so are you, wait, the triple grid that you're talking about from Challenge, is that the DTR, is it DTR 75? Is that
I wouldn't know. Nothing's changed. Nothing. Listen, challenge. Stop changing the name of your stuff like constantly. Um, or at least the model name. That thing has gone through three different names, at least that I remember. It's
okay?
that kite surfing stuff. It's super light. Yeah,
Gotcha.
but it folds like Dyneema, which is really nice too, and and the
Yeah.
stretch is pretty okay.
Yeah. So your dream fabric is a 50D grid stop pack fabric. Would you do a film backing?
Yeah.
Obviously, you would have some woven. Would you do like a film laminated, or just do like a PU backing? What are you thinking?
No, just the backing. Yeah. I wouldn't like Islam lamination would be sandwiching that between two like films, right?
Yeah, I guess what do you want like? Do you want it to be film like tapeable, or would you just do like a PU like a 210D grid stop type of
Yeah,
backing?
man. Listen, if it's anything, because if it's anything like the 250D grid stop stuff,
Hmm.
yeah, like I don't mind that. I don't mind that sticky ass backing on it. That stuff sticks. Like it's hard
Yeah,
to get on them anyway. Um, yeah, if it's just like a PU coating on the back, that's great. Like
yeah,
what
yeah.
is waterproof anyway? Like
Fair
truly.
enough.
We're gonna end on a fun note here. I if you're watching this on YouTube, or I guess not watching this and listening to it, we're gonna show Liv some pictures that I very hardly creeped on your way far back on your Instagram page. And I'm just going to show you a few photos, and let's just get your general reaction. But I'll go ahead and tee up this picture for those who can't see the photo. But this is a picture of Liv standing inside. He's got one of those like straw beach hats on, the big ones, and then what looks like your OG Frog Togs poncho and that nice khaki color. So can you
Yeah.
tell us what was going on in this photo?
That photo turned out to be so much better than like the actual moment. Um, I am sure I'm wearing clothes under that. 100% about that. I was gearing up. I think that's what it was, right? Like, I was gearing up, and the frog talk. Oh, yeah, Uh, the frog talks I just got because, like, I wasn't trying to spend too much on like on like rain gear, but then I got like the crazy idea to add snaps to a frog togs, and sorry, not snaps, but like little like attachment points to a frog tog to like have it complete like a like a pyramid tarp situation. Like I would take it off, tie it to my tarp, and then like make like a best of view for myself with my frog togs. That's what that was. And then the straw hat, man, I don't even know. But that's definitely me on the picture.
I love that you've confirmed
No,
yourself.
Confirm the
that's
identity.
the kind of
I
random
also
stuff I would
I
do.
I also liked how you said that you were positive you had clothes on because that wasn't one of our questions before. You're like, I am wearing clothes here.
Yeah.
Now I'm just gonna leave it to the imagination, you know? Let's go to the next picture here. This is a picture of you and
Oh,
Jen, who is not here with us today, but she was on the first
she's
episode we
alive.
recorded with you.
She's
We know
alive.
that she's
She's
your right
alive,
hand woman.
everyone.
Yeah, I didn't say that word that so well. I'm really sorry.
Sounded like it. I
Oh man.
seriously, I looked at the picture differently. I was like, oh, poor Jen. What a sad picture in this instance. No, my love, she's still with me. But I do remember this picture. We were at Niagara Falls here on one of our like many COVID trips upstate. We went on a hiking trip. This we like climbed Mount Marcy, and I proposed to Jen maybe like a few days before that. So like we made a stop at the Adirondacks and like did a yeah climb Mount Marcy, proposed, and then like drove to like Niagara Falls, New York, thinking that that would be like cute, but it ain't. Niagara Falls is not cute. Maybe the Canadian side. Maybe the Canadian side of town is a little better. Yo, so sorry if you're from there. Um, Not like that.
So, so
Just be
I was gonna
like,
say
sorry if I
sorry
offended
for.
you to begin with.
Oh,
Whatever.
I thought you meant sorry for you being
Yeah,
there because it's
maybe,
not
maybe.
cute.
Yo, the Indian food was
Oh.
bomb there, though. I'll tell you that.
Go for the food, don't stay for the views.
Yeah, the Indian food. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yo, even the falls, even like the falls part was like not even that cute. Like, like there were portions that like I'm like, yo, you could lose a kid to this waterfall through here. Like you could literally step right onto it. Like right onto the rapids kind of thing. I always thought that it was like on some like Hoover Dam kind of situation. Like this is guarded, but you could just die. It's easy. Yeah, but that was a great moment. That was a great trip. Um, yeah. Thank you for bringing that one up.
Yeah, of course.
No,
I
thank you.
feel like I might not make it through this segment. I'm just laughing so hard. Okay, let's do two more and then we'll wrap it up. All right. This is a picture of Liv. He looks very cold on the upper half of his body, but very warm on the lower half, meaning he's got a beanie, a long sleeve, gloves on, but then he's wearing, like some Patagonia baggy shorts. So tell us what's happening.
You said it the other way around, but it kind of works out because like because my legs are definitely uncovered, and yeah, I wasn't too cold, honestly. Yeah, no, I was good there. Yeah, so this was around like Monarch Pass, and like in the CDT. Yeah, this was from a very from this was a trip that I was like that I just probably decided that starting a gear company was probably like a good idea. Yeah, I had just finished like I was just crying before this picture. I was the hill the hill the mountain just be like the climb just before this, like yo, just like beat me up. I was like, I would take like 10 steps and needed to stop to breathe. But like a whole hour later, I made it like half a mile and finally climbed up, and it was just like and it was cool. And and I don't really believe in this stuff, but I do remember that I checked my time and it was like 11:11, and I was like, I'll make a wish anyway because like who knows, right? Um, anyway, and I just remember that, and that got me. And like when I made a wish, I started like imagine like thinking about the things I was wishing about, and I got emotional, and that I was out there, and like there's something I couldn't imagine myself doing, and just I was overjoyed, and a stranger was like, "Yo, you want a picture of yourself?" I was like, "Nah, I was being shy me, and they were like, "Yo, you should take a picture." Like, you know, they were probably surprised. I don't know what about they wanted the picture more than I did, and I wonder sometimes I wonder why, but like sometimes I'm just glad they took the picture. Um, yeah, that was a cool moment. Yeah, I remember that sleeping pad. That was such a bad idea. Yeah.
I love that story, and it looks like you have like an OG almonds right piece on you. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I had like if I'll do a quick like what is your what does your fit cost? I had like $10 swimming trunks. I got a Fort Lauderdale doing like a flight layover that time. I had like a decathlon, like a $10 decathlon, like grid fleece. This was when like Yeah, this is when like Leadville hoodies were like it, right? This is pre-alpha situation. So everybody wanted a grid fleece, me included. Yo, and you know what's sad about all of that too? That grid fleece, I was gonna be like, yo, I'm gonna mail that MF for home as soon as I get to Leadville and switch it out. Yo, when I get to Leadville, bro, it was closed. They would open the next day, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to sleep in the back of this shop. So just for a hoodie, so I skipped out on it. Yeah, so the grid fleece, and then a backpack I made, and a little sacoche that I made, and then that blue, yeah, and then like a $5 like little micro fleece hat, um, and like I had yellow frog talk somewhere around there. Oh, and then of course my flip shades, can't go without my flip shades. And then that blue pad, you see, that's because I yeah, I don't know what happened to. Well, I do know what happened to. It's just embarrassing to my sleep to my inflatable sleeping pad, but like it just I just couldn't take all of this, all of yeah. And I literally like the most like hairline kind of like seepage of like it wasn't even pop, bro. It was like the seam like where it was like heat sealed. It just like just gave, man. Just like imagine like a hair like little tunnel
mm-hmm.
that air was just escaping out the seam. That's how I know I didn't pop it. Well, I mean, that's how I know I wasn't like punctured. That's how you know it was just like it just couldn't. Anyway, so that's why I do foam now for sure, only exclusively. Yo, so I popped my sleeping pad, and Walmart came through with the blue foam one, and that's what
I
that
love
was.
the description of everything that you're wearing. What else is last question? What's on the front of you attached to your bag? We can move on. Oh, it looks like
Like
maybe a sun hat, like a
oh
sun
yeah,
hat,
yeah, yeah.
maybe.
That's all that is.
Okay,
It's
okay,
just like the OR like outdoor research like cap.
okay. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. I
Well,
cycle
there you have
between
it. Fall and summer and winter.
or just like a slight hill and downhill. Just like got like I'm like insulated already, so like I got like like self-regulating issues here.
Oh, thanks for sharing all of that. And then the last one, let's see. Here we go. It's a picture of a tarp and yeah, just a little camping setup here. The tarp, the foam pad, it looks like a big Agnes mag. maybe some few things you made, but what's going on in this picture?
Yeah, well, you can't immediately what you can't tell about the picture. It was like, it was like a 40 something degree night, and that was a 45-degree bag. And so like, but that was the first sleeping bag I've ever owned. Um, the Big Agnes one. Yo, I still use it and I still love it. And like, I love that thing so much, for so many reasons. Um, I've even thought about like, yo, can I just like make myself a liner and like you and then use that sleeping bag as well, in the winter kind of situation. Anyway, I get the whole picture is not about the bag, but I just love it so much. That was the first time I went like backpacking alone. It was like a two-nighter, mostly gear I made. I got lucky that it didn't rain that night because like I'm looking at my setup and I'm like, I would have been screwed. But
What's your pillow situation there?
buy clothes in a bag.
It looks like it's in a grocery sack, like one of those
Yes,
plastic
I thought it was a
bags.
Walmart bag.
Yeah.
No, that was a zipper pouch. But might as well been, right?
Is
Like
that
that.
your OG tent stake bag too, hanging from
Yeah,
the
yeah,
tarp?
yeah, yeah, for sure. That was
Nice.
that 10 steak bag. Like they didn't even have a cord lock. That's when I was just like, anyway, that 10 steak bag is what taught me to like I needed to design something different for steak sacks because it was
Yeah.
triangular, regular, thing you can get everywhere, and it was pretty awful. You can see the stitching. Look, like it was so bad. You can see the stitching like around the collar. That's like no like tension on the thing right there. It was just like, yeah, that was before I even knew what a good stitch looked like. Yet,
This is a good reminder to DIYers that you can live through a lot even with not like great craftsmanship. And I don't mean to say that to be any offense to you, Liv, but like your first gear will get you through
yeah,
a lot more than you
yeah,
realize.
no, totally, absolutely. But also carry like a repair kit with you. Just
But also be ready to fix
Yeah, but
it.
definitely be ready. Yo, you better believe that, like, not so much these days because, like, I've learned a thing or two. But like back in the day, like, yeah, whenever I took a new backpack I made, like, absolutely anything, I would take like a massive, like, I just, I was short of finding like a sewing machine that I can carry, like, like those hand ones, like, you know,
Yeah, right.
yeah. Anyway.
I love that all the photos we just kind of went through all had almost a similar theme, which is kind of like from your failures to fruition. It's really cool to see these pieces of gear that are your staples now that you have been selling, like the pack you were wearing, the bag, the tent stake bag. So it's really cool to see those photos and in those moments of when you had that idea or maybe had that gear failure, and then you turned that into fruition. You made it happen, and here you are, 3+ years later in a whole new
Mhm.
studio with help and a baby and all these things and the ways that you've grown and expanded over the last 3 years. I am really looking forward to the next time we meet with you. We'll go ahead and put that on the calendar for December 2026. And I can't wait to hear about where you're going to be in the next 3 years. But it's so great to know you and to learn about your process and to just have seen you truly evolve. And I think that is one thing that makes you and your gear really special is you know what you like and what you want to do, but you're also consistent. Yeah, and it's just so great to have followed you for so long and to see in the ways that you grow. And I hope that other people who are listening who maybe started the company by themselves and are sewing in their bedroom can hear this and get inspired to know that it doesn't take 10 years to be where you want to be, but it just takes, maybe putting your phone on do not disturb and putting pants on in the morning to get there.
Yeah. Yo, pants are optional. Um, but
Pants,
definitely,
ponchos.
yeah. No, I would say, put your phone away before you put pants on. Like, putting phone away is priority for sure.
Cool. Well, Liv, we're going to shut this thing down to help you get back to actually running your company. But thanks again for sharing this time with us. And yeah, you're just a rad person to chat with. It, uh, it doing the podcast is always a privilege and something that we do not take lightly. But it's just so great to talk with people that are doing really cool things in the industry and in the world. So yeah, just thanks for being you, and thanks for chatting with us and sharing this time with Ripstop on the Record crew.
Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel about you, but I'll say it again so other people know. You know, it's always nice whenever we see you guys. We can't wait to come up to you and talk to you. And you know, this time and from day one, it hasn't been no different. Thank you so much for, just opening avenues for us and helping us tell our story. Throughout the whole journey, really. Thank you, thank you.
I can definitely speak for both of us probably when we say that watching you do what you do really inspires us and gives us a reason to wake up in the morning. So, thank you for taking our fabric and turning it into something so cool that we get to see and experience and kind of be a part of almost just on this journey with you. But yeah, thank you
Yeah,
again.
no problem, no problem. I guess the point of this is like to inspire like the person in their living room, and you said that like for doing what I do, like say you, but like anybody could do this. You know what I mean? Like really, just got to do it. And that was my poster for the day. That was my motivational poster for the day. Anyway, yo, cut that out. Actually, I'll tell you that right now. You can cut that out. That was funny as fuck. I think all I'm trying to say is that like, nah, man. I just sometimes I can't believe that I get to do this. You know what I mean? And then thinking back to how I get to do this, and it could seem like daunting, but it's really not. Just like yo, one step in front of the other, and like you know, and yeah, I'll leave it there.
Sweet. Love it. Talk to you soon, Liv.
Later, y'all.